After confirming that the scene before him was not an illusion, Xiao Yin cupped his hands towards the perfected Earth Supreme. Regardless of whether what he had just seen was real or not, Xiao Yin couldn't help but admire the ability of the perfected Earth Supreme. After all, at that moment, Xiao Yin truly couldn't distinguish between illusion and reality. If this was the new ability gained by the perfected Earth Supreme after cultivating in the Dimension Embryo, then it seemed that the perfected Earth Supreme had undergone a real transformation. "Congratulations on your transformation, perfected Earth Supreme," Xiao Yin said, cupping his hands and smiling. "I heard from Taiping that you actually won the championship in the 10,000 Pills gathering. That's quite impressive," the perfected Earth Supreme remarked after returning the Dimension Embryo to Xiao Yin. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yin smiled again. But his purpose in waiting for the perfected Earth Supreme's emergence wasn't just for the Dimension Embryo in his hands. There was something else that Xiao Yin had been waiting for years to accomplish. That was to personally visit the Fire Spirit Clan and complete several tasks. In the past, Xiao Yin had been unable to do so due to his insufficient strength and unfinished business. But now, Xiao Yin was confident and prepared enough to confront the Fire Spirit Clan directly. The ancient Emperor of Tuasa. Whether to express his gratitude, invite him back to the Do Domain world, or seek his help to reach greater heights, Xiao Yin would never forget that it was the ancient emperor's inheritance that helped him avoid the disaster that would have befallen the Doqi continent. Without that, everything that followed might have turned out very differently. However, to ensure everything went smoothly, Xiao Yin decided to make one more preparation. "You've come for something, haven't you?" The perfected Earth Supreme immediately guessed Xiao Yan's intent. If it were only for the Dimension Embryo, Xiao Yin wouldn't have waited so long for the perfected Earth Supreme to emerge and personally come to this secluded mountain range. "Yes," Xiao Yin nodded, then explained his wish to go to the Fire Spirit Clan. Xiao Yan's purpose was to enlist the perfected Earth Supreme's help, and there were 3 reasons for this. First, the Fire Spirit Clan's power was well known, and with the ancient Emperor of Tuasa now serving as the clan's guardian fire, Xiao Yin planned to take him away. Without sufficient strength, this would be impossible. Second, the Do Domain had already become a dominant force in the Great Thousand Worlds. The Fire Spirit Clan was undoubtedly aware of the Do Domain's affairs, and the ancient Emperor of Tuasa, stationed within the Fire Spirit Clan, would surely know. Since Xiao Yin was the heir of the ancient Emperor, he must have already been sensed by the latter upon arriving in the Great Thousand Worlds. However, the ancient Emperor had yet to respond, and Xiao Yin believed this was because he had not yet reached a level where the Fire Spirit Clan or the ancient Emperor would take him seriously. Hence, Xiao Yin needed strength. After all, if the ancient Emperor wanted to return to the Doqi continent and Xiao Yin, as the Lord of the Do Domain, was unable to help, it would be a sign of his own incompetence. Third, Xiao Yan's visit wasn't just about dealing with the ancient Emperor of Tuasa. He also had another goal. He wanted to obtain the remaining 2 chapters of the Fire Text Catalog that Lei and Hua had once mentioned to him. The Fire Text Catalog consisted of 4 chapters, but Xiao Yin only possessed the Flame Fusion and Flame Transformation chapters. The remaining chapters, Flame Creation and Flame Mastery, were with the Fire Spirit Clan. Obtaining these would allow Xiao Yin to study the complete Fire Text Catalog. However, to achieve this in such an ancient clan, which had adhered to a tradition of power for tens of thousands of years, Xiao Yin still required strength. Xiao Yin knew that the perfected Earth Supreme had stayed in the Do Domain only because they both needed each other's help. But now that the perfected Earth Supreme had accomplished his goal, he might leave at any moment. Therefore, Xiao Yin had to seize the opportunity to seek help. "You're thinking of going to the Fire Spirit Clan?" After listening to Xiao Yan's explanation, the perfected Earth Supreme pondered for a moment and then said, "The Fire Spirit Clan is one of the strongest ancient clans in the Great Thousand Worlds, second only to the Primordial Divine Clan and the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan. Although it has weakened somewhat, the Fire Spirit Clan still has 3 Heavenly Supremes, including the ancient Emperor of Tuasa. But the most terrifying is the Fire Spirit Ancestor, who survived the world-ending war. He became a Heavenly Supreme 1,000 years ago, and it was the Fire Spirit Ancestor who subdued the ancient Emperor of Tuasa thousands of years ago. Yes, I'm already aware of these matters. If I'm going to the Fire Spirit Clan, I'll have to face the fire spirit ancestor, Xiao Yin said to the perfected Earth Supreme. But even though the fire spirit ancestor is strong, if I can borrow your power, senior sacred flame, I believe I can still resist. Hee. Is it the same fire fusion technique as the ancient emperor of Tuasa? At first, I indeed needed to merge flames in order to harness the power of other flames. But now, I have a much deeper understanding of the technique of flame fusion, so I only require the power of senior sacred flame, and there's no need to merge with the origin of fire, Xiao Yin said. In that case, let me lend you my power, said the sacred flame of primordial flames. And I also plan to find a place in the Do domain to settle down. Let this be my contribution to the cause. Senior sacred flame, you plan to stay in the Do domain? Upon hearing this, Xiao Yin was momentarily stunned. He had just been thinking of gaining senior sacred flame's help before he left, but now the sacred flame decided to stay in the Do domain. This meant adding a heavenly supreme to the region, which undoubtedly delighted Xiao Yin. If Master stays in the Do domain, I will naturally remain here too, said Taiping, standing beside him. Xiao Yin was once again taken aback. From a certain perspective, Taiping might even have greater potential than the sacred flame of primordial flames, and his decision would add another heavenly supreme to the Do domain. Originally, the Do domain only had 2 heavenly supremes, but now, with just a few sentences, it had grown to 4, making its lineup just as formidable as the Fire Spirit clan. With my power added, how confident are you in defeating the Fire Spirit ancestor? The sacred flame of primordial flames asked. Even if the Fire Spirit ancestor breaks through and ascends to an upper heavenly supreme, I still have more than a 60% chance of winning, Xiao Yin replied. Such high odds? Is the technique of flame fusion that powerful? The sacred flame of primordial flames was somewhat incredulous. He himself ranked 8th on the 100 million flames ranking, and Xiao Yin's current flame power seemed unlikely to suppress the top 5 super divine fires. The fire spirit ancestor had subdued the Tuasa ancient emperor flame thousands of years ago. Although the Tuasa ancient emperor flame was not yet ranked 3rd at the time, it was still among the top 5. Xiao Yin claiming a 60% chance to defeat the fire spirit ancestor might be an exaggeration. However, just as the sacred flame of primordial flames doubted Xiao Yan's words, he saw a golden fire dragon rising from Xiao Yan's left hand. The immense power capable of refining all things immediately told the sacred flame of primordial flames exactly what kind of flame this was. Refining fire? Looking at the golden fire dragon in Xiao Yan's hand, the sacred flame of primordial flames couldn't hide his astonishment. Refining fire was the unique divine fire of the Futu divine clan, ranking 7th on the 100 million flames ranking. How could Xiao Yin possess it? But just as the sacred flame of primordial flames was shocked by the refining fire in Xiao Yan's left hand, another flame rose from Xiao Yan's raised right hand. This one looked ordinary, yet it gave off an indestructible, eternal feeling. However, this was not the undying fire, but another even higher-ranked, powerful flame. 6th on the 100 million flames ranking, the true phoenix flame. The sacred flame of primordial flames was truly shocked now. How could Xiao Yin possess the clan treasures of both the Futu divine clan and the true phoenix clan? However, being a fire expert himself, the sacred flame of primordial flames quickly realized that these 2 flames were not Xiao Yan's original flames but subflames. Even so, their power was still not to be underestimated. I found the refining fire when I was merging the Do domain world and discovered it in a shattered world. As for the true phoenix flame, I don't know why it appeared within me. I only noticed it recently, Xiao Yin explained. Both the sacred flame of primordial flames and Taiping were startled by Xiao Yan's revelation. Xiao Yin didn't even know why the true phoenix flame was inside him. Of course, Xiao Yin had no idea because the true phoenix flame had been placed inside him during the time of the 1,000 worlds by fire. That was merely a small gift from the ancient divine ancestor to fire. I see now. The sacred flame of primordial flames nodded. With the 30 powerful heavenly fires within Xiao Yan's body, combined with the refining fire, the true phoenix flame, and the power of the sacred flame of primordial flames, the fused strength could indeed be enough to defeat the fire spirit ancestor. After all, even the fire spirit ancestor had never fused so many types of flames simultaneously. Then what are your plans now? If you need, I can go with you to the fire spirit clan, said Tai Ping. As for the fire spirit clan matter, let's wait until we bring Long Yuan here and discuss it together, said the sacred flame of primordial flames. It's better to be cautious about this, Xiao Yin agreed. The Do domain had never had any dealings with the fire spirit clan. The only interaction with them occurred during the 10,000 Pills gathering, when Xiao Yin had a pill competition with a woman named Fire Tianyang. Therefore, without knowing the Tuasa ancient emperor's intentions, the Do domain had no reason to provoke the fire spirit clan. After both the sacred flame of primordial flames and Tai Ping joined the Do domain, Xiao Yin immediately called for a gathering of the elders and powerful members of the Do domain. Although Long Yuan was busy, he immediately summoned the high-ranking elders from the Ruins continent and arrived in the Do domain. Just one day later, nearly 100 figures gathered in a meeting hall on the Flame Emperor continent. Among them were Kailin, Xun'er, Zhu Kuan, Gu Yuan, and Elder Yao, old friends from the Do Qi continent. Naturally, Lu Xian, one of the most outstanding members of the 10,000 Pills gathering, was also present. Xiao Yin and Long Yuan sat in the highest seats of the hall, looking down at the many elders, and both nodded in satisfaction. Esteemed elders, you've arrived even faster than I expected, Xiao Yin said with a faint smile, looking at the gathered elders. Hearing this, the elders also smiled. After all, Xiao Yin had caused quite a stir in the Do domain for an entire month, and they were all part of it. How could they dare to be careless when summoned by someone of his stature? Since everyone is here, let's begin the meeting. There are two main topics to address, Xiao Yin said as he slowly stood up. His clear voice echoed in the hall, and the next words he spoke caused a shock to everyone present. First, I announced that the Do domain will add 2 more heavenly supreme elders. As Xiao Yan's words fell, everyone saw 2 figures appear at the entrance of the hall as the space twisted. They were none other than Tai Su Sheng Yin and Tai Ping. After they appeared, all the elders immediately stood up, paying their respects. These 2 were genuine heavenly supreme experts, and their presence commanded awe. While the elders bowed in respect, Tai Su Sheng Yin smiled and cupped his hands toward them, then spoke to Xiao Yin. I have a territory in the 10,000 Pills continent called the Tai Su Sacred Domain. It's not inferior to this Do domain, and perhaps the domain master should consider sending some elders to station there. Xiao Yin replied, Elder Sheng Yin, the Tai Su Sacred Domain is your domain. You can choose the right people to send. Hearing this, Tai Su Sheng Yin nodded slightly. He and Tai Ping then walked to the seats among the elders and casually found a place to sit down. As for the 2 heavenly supreme elders, the other elders almost competed to offer their seats, which brought a light-hearted moment to the hall. Let's temporarily leave the first matter at that. Now, on to the second topic, Xiao Yin continued, sitting back down. All the elders immediately focused their attention on him again, eager to hear his words. I wonder if any of the elders have heard of an ancient Do emperor from the Do Qi continent, called Tuasa Ancient Emperor, before this Do domain came into existence? Xiao Yin asked. The elders exchanged glances, and then nodded. They clearly knew of the Tuasa Ancient Emperor. After all, Xiao Yin had entered the Do Emperor level relying on his inheritance. This had already been spread by people from the original Do Qi continent, so it was well known across the various fragmented worlds. But now, Xiao Yin was mentioning this ancient Do Emperor from tens of thousands of years ago. Could it be that the ruins of the Tuasa Ancient Emperor had been discovered in the Great Thousand Worlds? Many elders wondered, and it was understandable. After all, the Ancient Emperor Alliance had been destroyed, so how could Tuasa Ancient Emperor still be alive? Elders, do not be surprised. The Tuasa Ancient Emperor is indeed still alive in the Great Thousand Worlds, and he is now in the Fire Spirit Clan, where he holds a position of clan protector. His strength must have reached the heavenly supreme level. Xiao Yan's words reverberated through the hall. The only one who did not react was Kailin, as she already knew this when Xiao Yin had rescued her from the Central Heaven Realm. But the others were all astonished. Zhu Kuan and Gu Yuan were especially shocked. Zhu Kuan, having been trapped by Tuasa Ancient Emperor beneath a sea of magma, felt a chill at the mention of his name. The other elders were stunned that such an ancient Do Emperor was still alive and had reached the heavenly supreme level. Wasn't this the first person from the Do Chi world to reach the heavenly supreme level? Even the Dragon Emperor, Pill Emperor, and Xiao Emperor from the Ancient Emperor Alliance were only at the Earth Supreme level. And Long Yuan, who was born in the Great Thousand Worlds and had absorbed the bloodline of the true Dragon Clan, couldn't be counted here. Upon hearing that there was a heavenly supreme powerhouse still alive from the Do Chi continent in the Great Thousand Worlds, some of the elders in the hall began to make calculations. With the addition of Tai Su Shang Yin and Taiping, the Do domain now had 4 heavenly supremes. The Do domain has directly risen to become one of the most powerful forces in the Great Thousand Worlds, second only to the Primordial Divine Clan and the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan. Everyone, please set aside your surprise for now. The reason I have called you all here is to discuss an important matter. Just as some of the elders began to speculate about Tuasa Ancient Emperor, the 5th Heavenly Supreme, Xiao Yin spoke as everyone had expected. Now, Tuasa Ancient Emperor is a symbol of the Fire Spirit Clan, almost like the clan's guardian divine fire. How should we retrieve him from their hands? We can directly attack the Fire Spirit Clan. We now have 4 Heavenly Supremes. And although the Fire Spirit Clan nominally has 3, Tuasa Ancient Emperor should be one of us from the Do domain. He would never strike against us, so the Fire Spirit Clan only has the Fire Spirit Ancestor and the clan leader left as their Heavenly Supremes. That's right, we can conquer the Fire Spirit Clan and take Tuasa Ancient Emperor with us. Who knows, he might even help us. How foolish. As the Domain Master just said, Tuasa Ancient Emperor has probably been with the Fire Spirit Clan for thousands of years. If his heart belongs to the Fire Spirit Clan, he might turn against us and join them to fight us. That would be a huge loss of face for us. If Tuasa Ancient Emperor's heart belongs to the Fire Spirit Clan, then we should attack the Fire Spirit Clan and deal with this traitor. You dare call Tuasa Ancient Emperor a traitor? He is a Heavenly Supreme. A single slap from him could end you. Can Tuasa Ancient Emperor really ignore our Domain Master and the other 3 Heavenly Supremes? After Xiao Yin proposed bringing Tuasa Ancient Emperor back from the Fire Spirit Clan, the elders in the hall began to discuss it heatedly. Xiao Yin and Long Yuan exchanged looks, feeling speechless. It seemed the excitement from Xiao Yin's victory at the 10,000 Pills gathering still hadn't worn off for many of the elders. Bang! Bang! Elders! This is not a marketplace. As the elders continued to argue, Long Yuan finally couldn't hold back any longer. He slammed his hand on the table and sternly shouted. The elders immediately quieted down upon hearing his voice. Senior Long Yuan, what do you think we should do about this? Xiao Yin asked Long Yuan, who had been managing the primordial ancient dragon clan on the Ruins continent for nearly 10,000 years. His experience and methods in this matter would certainly be far more than ordinary. First, the Do domain has just established itself, and everything is still in its early stages. We shouldn't create conflicts with forces of the same level at this time. Second, since Tuasa Ancient Emperor is still alive, the most important thing is to understand his will. This is the key to deciding what we should do, Long Yuan replied. After Long Yuan's words, many of the elders in the hall nodded in agreement. If Tuasa Ancient Emperor is willing to return to us, then we'll have the initiative in negotiations with the Fire Spirit Clan. If he doesn't want to return, we should not force him, as that would not benefit either party, Long Yuan continued. Then the most important thing now is to learn Tuasa Ancient Emperor's will, Xiao Yin said after hearing Long Yuan. In that case, let's send a message to the Fire Spirit Clan. How should we send the message? One of the elders asked. Hearing this, Xiao Yin stood up once more. His deep voice echoed in everyone's ears. I, the inheritor Xiao Yin, wish to retrieve Tuasa Ancient Emperor, Senior. This is in the southern part of the Great Thousand Worlds, where there lies a supercontinent of several 100 million miles in size. The shape of the continent resembles a burning flame, and this type of flame-shaped continent is unique to the Great Thousand Worlds. One of the top 10 supercontinents, the Fire Spirit Continent. In a certain area of the Fire Spirit Continent, There is a vast region spanning millions of miles, where various flames rise from the ground. These flames carry immense power. They swirl across the ground, and some even battle and intertwine in the air. Astonishingly, all of these flames are listed on the 100 million flames ranking. Over several thousand types of flames gather in one region, equivalent to half of the flames on the ranking. These flames are now like livestock in this area, never leaving. This area is known as the Fire Spirit Clan's famous Fire Spirit Pasture. The Fire Spirit Pasture is the lifeblood of the Fire Spirit Clan. Every royal member of the clan, upon coming of age, can choose a flame from here as their personal flame. At this moment, on the edge of the red giant stone tablet, a figure was sitting cross-legged. Dressed in dark robes, with a weathered appearance, it was none other than Tuasa, the ancient emperor whom Xiao Yin had seen years ago during his inheritance on the Doqi continent. Since being captured by the Fire Spirit ancestor thousands of years ago, Tuasa had become the master of the Fire Spirit Pasture in the Fire Spirit Clan. Buzz. The space behind Tuasa began to distort, and another ancient figure, resembling a mischievous child, appeared. This person was none other than the Fire Spirit ancestor, Tuasa's old friend and rival for thousands of years, and also the oldest person in the Fire Spirit Clan. The Fire Spirit gathering is coming up, and there's something interesting, the Fire Spirit ancestor said as he appeared, addressing the seated Tuasa. Are you interested? Heh, what is it? Tuasa tilted his head slightly and smiled faintly. There's someone in the clan, next time during the Fire Spirit gathering, who wants you to become their personal Fire Spirit, the Fire Spirit ancestor replied. Tuasa glanced at him. Was this old man trying to mess with him? The Fire Spirit Gathering was an event held once every 18 years in the Fire Spirit Clan, and every time, there were always a few young, naive individuals trying to control their own fire spirit. Over the thousands of years, there had been 1,000 such attempts. Tuasa had long since grown used to these brash, arrogant youngsters. This wasn't something interesting at all. It was just another boring matter. All right, I was just kidding, the Fire Spirit ancestor said, seeing the expression of disbelief on Tuasa's face. He waved his hand, and then Tuasa saw a letter in the Fire Spirit ancestor's hand. Do you know what this is? The Fire Spirit ancestor asked, holding up the letter. Not interested, Tuasa said, choosing not to engage with the Fire Spirit ancestor any further. He turned his gaze away. Well, let me read it to you, the Fire Spirit ancestor said, ignoring Tuasa's disinterest. He opened the letter and read aloud the words written inside, causing Tuasa to freeze for a moment despite his earlier lack of interest. Successor Xiao Yin wishes to visit the Fire Spirit Clan and express his gratitude to Senior Tuasa. The Fire Spirit ancestor's voice deliberately grew louder, echoing throughout the surrounding space, carrying a terrifying authority that immediately made all the fire spirits in the Fire Spirit Pasture bow in submission. Upon hearing this, Tuasa turned his gaze back toward the Fire Spirit ancestor with a look of disbelief. The two exchanged a silent glance. Heh, how about it? Now you're interested, aren't you? The Fire Spirit ancestor spoke again, chuckling. Xiao Yin. Tuasa furrowed his brow. Just 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't it that I was with you? The Fire Spirit ancestor said. A young man from the Doqi continent, just like you, who possesses the same fire fusion technique as you, and a so-called exotic flame square. Heh, you were quite moved back then. He's bound to seek you out. Faster than expected, Tuasa replied. I left a fledgling pill and inheritance on the Doqi continent. It seems he's used that inheritance to take the next step and come to the Great Thousand Worlds. But it's only been a little over 10 years since his arrival here. Even with his remarkable talent, he should not have reached the heavenly supreme level yet. For him to seek me out now seems a bit premature. Heh, not necessarily, the Fire Spirit ancestor replied. I've already had someone look into Xiao Yan's deeds over the past 10 years in the Great Thousand Worlds. So, what do you think? Are you interested now? Let's see, Tuasa said. First, there's an event that happened in the central heaven realm of the Five-Direction Sky Realm about 8 years ago. On that continent, Xiao Yin and a powerful figure from the Western Heaven Hall made a deal with a major force called the Divine Void Palace. The deal was for 10 million supreme spiritual liquids in exchange for a second-grade supreme female warrior. At the time, Xiao Yin was already a 9th-grade supreme. The deal seems to have been concluded. The fire spirit ancestor continued. Since he appeared alongside a Western Heaven Hall figure, we can infer that after breaking through the dimensional barrier, Xiao Yin must have arrived in the Western Heaven Realm, where he was detected by the Western Heaven Hall. After all, the Western Heaven Hall is part of the Lower Dimension Alliance, so it's not surprising they have such means. 9th grade supreme? Upon hearing this, Tuasa was slightly surprised. Xiao Yin had only arrived in the Great Thousand Worlds 2 or 3 years ago, and now he was already a 9th grade supreme? Having stayed in the Do-Chi continent before, Tuasa knew that the limit there was a 3-star Do Emperor. Only by reaching that level could one break through the dimensional barrier and come to the Great Thousand Worlds. From 3rd grade supreme to 9th grade supreme, Xiao Yin had managed to accomplish all this in just 2 or 3 years. Note, Tuasa's assumption is incorrect. In reality, after defeating the Soul Emperor, Xiao Yin spent over 10 years in the energy-deprived Do-Chi continent to reach the 3-star Do Emperor level. After that, he opened the energy channel, but did not immediately head to the Great Thousand Worlds. He waited for Xun'er and Kailin to advance to the Do Emperor level, spending another decade or so training in the Do-Chi continent. The second matter happened 6 years ago, on the broken ruins of the land. Xiao Yin fought the 13th elder of the ancient royal court, his opponent being the Earth Supreme, and Xiao Yin emerged victorious. He was then taken away by a powerful member of the primordial ancient dragon clan. The fire spirit ancestor said, "Ancient royal court?" Tuasa Ancient Emperor was slightly surprised upon hearing about the ancient royal court, as it was a powerful ancient force with a deep history. Before the world-ending war, the ancient royal court had dominated the ruins continent, and it was not weaker than the fire spirit clan at that time. Xiao Yin was actually able to defeat the Earth Supreme of the ancient royal court 6 years ago. This was only a bit over a year after the Central Heaven Realm incident. Has Xiao Yin already reached the Earth Supreme level? Tuasa Ancient Emperor asked. What about the past 6 years? Tuasa Ancient Emperor inquired further. The third matter, details unknown, but it happened in the lower dimension world. According to Xiao Yin, he discovered that the Do-Chi continent was just a fragment of a much larger dimensional world. About 2 years ago, Xiao Yin completed the fusion of all the fragment worlds of that dimension, creating a new dimensional world. Xiao Yin then became the ruler of this new dimension. The fire spirit ancestor said, "How much did Xiao Yin's strength progress over the past 2 years?" Tuasa Ancient Emperor asked. "We haven't gathered many more details, but during that world fusion, the one who helped Xiao Yin was the leader of the primordial ancient dragon clan, he, also a heavenly supreme." The fire spirit ancestor said, "Finally, there's only one more thing. It happened a month ago, and right now, only the pill refining world of the Great Thousand Worlds is talking about it. I only found out about it when I met that girl, Fire Tianyang." "What happened?" Tuasa Ancient Emperor asked, impatient. "Hee, do you know what the pill refining world of the Great Thousand Worlds was doing a month ago?" The fire spirit ancestor chuckled. Upon hearing this, Tuasa Ancient Emperor calculated it in his mind and said, "The Pill God clan and the ancient 10,000 grass plains held the 10,000 pills gathering 7 months ago, and it ended a month ago. What does this have to do with Xiao Yin?" "Guess what it has to do with?" The fire spirit ancestor teased. "Did Xiao Yin participate in the 10,000 pills gathering?" Tuasa Ancient Emperor asked. The fire spirit ancestor shook his head. "When I first heard Fire Tianyang mention this, I couldn't believe it either. The result of the 10,000 pills gathering was that Xiao Yin stood out from tens of thousands of advanced alchemists, and the item he won was a sacred pill capable of transforming a divine soul into a heavenly soul. Finally, according to Fire Tianyang, at that time, Xiao Yin had already reached the heavenly supreme level.